in life, each of us likely has a favorite meal or a favorite food. And, sometimes when it's your birthday, you may be asked, what would you like? And you often will select your favorite food. But, you want to share this with other people. So obviously your family is going to be a part of it, and your friends, considering that is to say, if you're able to do such a gathering. But, also the person who's preparing the meal, they have to follow a certain recipe. If you mess up the favorite food, it's not the same thing. So they have to follow, the word or the instruction, and you want to invite other people and you share in that favorite food. As we gather to celebrate the body and blood of Christ, we have to also remember the real presence in the Word of God and also in each other. Sometimes people have a challenge believing in the real presence in the bread and the wine. Yet for me, the bigger challenge is to witness the presence of God of Christ in others, or even in myself. That's the real challenge. But this is what we're called to do. So we can think of it as a birthday celebration. When we gather for Eucharist, that Christ's presence is present in the food and the drink. Christ's presence is in the people and also in the recipe, or that is to say, the Word of God. But on the other side of the spectrum, sometimes we are disciplined by not eating certain other foods. Maybe we don't like certain vegetables and we might hide them in our chair or in a milk carton. And so, and we will be disciplined for that. And so in the first reading from the book of Exodus, the people are making a covenant with God. And they are actually agreeing to this covenant, as in one voice they say, basically, they will obey it. Now, what God can do is God can discipline the people according to this covenant, because they have agreed to this, and if they don't live according to this, God can discipline them. Now, when we get disciplined for not eating our vegetables, it's not so that, our parents can be, mean towards us. It's actually to encourage us to do things that are good for us. Eating our vegetables is good. Or eating all of our food that we have put on our plate is also good. And so when God disciplines us, it's for our own benefit. And it's not that God doesn't care about us. Our parents don't care about us. They want the best from us. I mean, in a normal situation. In the gospel reading, Jesus has prepared the Passover meal, and as the two disciples go into Jerusalem, everything is set up as Jesus had stated. And this is because the Passover meal was a very important, very special meal for the people, and Jesus made all the right preparations for them to celebrate. Now, Jesus is going to put a new covenant agreement, or that is to say, a friendship agreement, upon this meal. It's going to be an everlasting covenant. And he's going to draw from the book of Exodus as he is going to offer the blood of Christ for us. Now this is a lot for us to take. But the thing is, if we think of the blood of Christ, we see the injustice of the cross. We see how Jesus faced the injustice of humanity when he shed his blood. And so we have to enter into the injustices of our world. We have to respond. And a good example of this is the residential school system. We have to respond. We know of an injustice that has happened in our past, and we have to respond to that. I'd like to share an example that I heard on CBC radio. This comes from a residential school survivor. And she was saying that she had an art class where the teacher would always have his hands behind his back. Now, the purpose of this, which she came to realize, was to show the children that he would not hit them. In the class, he would encourage them to be artistic in whatever way they wanted. In other words, he didn't instruct them or tell them what to do. He invited them to to unveil what they wanted to when it was art class. And when he looked upon your art piece, he might say something like, "Oh, where's the light shining?" To kind of encourage you, but would never mock you because of your art piece. And really what was happening, at least according to the residential school survivor, is this gentleman recognized the injustice of the school system that he was a part of, but he did his part to be just, to be fair in that system. And so we have to do the same things, because even, we may be, we're all part of a world where there's all kinds of injustices going on, but we can still do our part. Now, when Jesus gives us the body of his own body, this might be a little bit bizarre as well, but Jesus is giving us his risen and glorified flesh to eat. In other words, this is spiritual food for the journey. This is to help us to remember what Christ did for us, is doing for us, and will do for us. Now, this might be way too much for us to take. This may be like, how do I see the benefit of this meal? But look at it from the perspective of God. That God will go to great extent to reveal God to us through this meal. Now, hopefully, as we learn more and more about this meal, that this also becomes one of our favorite meals. We anticipate joining together with others to celebrate in the goodness and the presence of God. And may we continue to be nourished so that we can respond to the injustices in our world.